At the time of recording this, it's the 9th of September, the day that Guild Esports announced that it was going to launch, or it's looking to launch, an IPO on the London Stock Exchange. You'll see this on the 10th of September, keeping the daily uploads going. I'm not saying that's the plan for this channel by any means, but I'm not saying it's not the plan as well, So today, yeah, it's been a mad one for Guild Esports. So it only launched a couple of months ago, and the big hurrah around the organisation realistically was that David Beckham is involved as an owner. Now, I haven't really seen anything that suggests he's going to be a massive ambassador of the brand, like posting about it every day and really bragging about his involvement in esports. But his name has been used a lot in the initial press release and articles about the organisation here on after the launch, So, from what I've heard, he doesn't have a massive ownership stake in the organisation, though he has a minority interest in it. And it's not the most significant, though it is something, It's not millions of pounds or anything along those lines. So, looking to go public on the London Stock Exchange, Guild Esports says it's going to be the first organisation to do so, and I'd say, yeah, that's because most organisations aren't really in the place to be launching an IPO right now, and the ones that have, maybe not in London, but if you look at like Toronto and obviously New York and such, like it's not and Denmark as well, actually, Nasdaq in Denmark, it's not been necessarily too great so far for those that have tried, majority at least, but nonetheless they're gonna try and go ahead with it, and they're looking to get a valuation of £50 million, and I believe the original target for the valuation for the organisation was 100 million. So obviously it's a steep drop off, and I think they're like pinning it down to the market at the moment and the unpredictability due to COVID and such, when in reality Guild Esports has yet to really do anything too substantial. They signed Scrub Killer and such for Rocket League and a player in FIFA, but they don't own anything, like they don't have permanent spots in any leagues, and they're looking to raise £20 million so they can go into CSGO and go into Fortnite. Again, like, unless you get into Flashpoint or like ESL through the Louvre agreement, you're not going to have anything permanent or even semi-permanent there either, and there's no franchising or permanent spots in Fortnite by any means. That's a brawl to get into any sort of big event, any main event from Epic Games, So a big problem I see for Guild Esports is trying to be valued at £50 million when you literally own nothing but a brand that is hyped up purely because of David Beckham's involvement, though he's not actively out there selling the brand and converting his kind of very sports heavy following into esports heavy following as well. It's a lot to ask, and I think it's foolish for many reasons. And don't get me wrong, I actually reckon Guild Esports will reach the 20 million it's looking for, to be honest with you, because there are a lot of people looking at esports through the kind of guise of, oh, it's the next big thing. And I mean, many of us in the industry think that as well. But something I've tweeted before is we always say, oh, in 10 years, esports is going to be as big as sports. And then 1 year later, we say, oh, in 10 years, it's going to be big. And then the year after that, oh, in 10 years. And the time never actually seems to arrive. We're all potentially, at least, overhyping esports in terms of how quick it can accelerate its growth and how fast it can reach the status of sports that have been going for decades and decades, in some cases a century, So it's difficult to say that it's worth it. I mean, I can't see a world in which you can say Guild Esports is worth £50 million right now. Like, what does it own? Like, merchandise, it doesn't have the £1 million it's thinking it's going to raise in the first year there, or the £5 million that it's going to make from sponsorship revenue, And I think it's even been admitted that Guild Esports is looking to like piggyback off of David Beckham's reputation and his involvement, his minor involvement in Guild Esports to get these sponsors in. Now, surely you should be doing it because you've got a really strong brand and like your players are successful or they're marketable. In the best case scenario, they're both winning and they're creating good content and streaming and have got a good following and they're a personality. They've kind of got that in Scrub Killer, of course, but it's they're nowhere near the kind of stature, anything like that of the reputation, the stature, the size, the pedigree of other organisations. Those that are still kind of plugging away like for a long, like for some organisations at least, most prominent ones that have like taken venture capital backing now, but there are some still plugging out there, you know. And I mean, it's just not the right time for Guild Esports to be doing this. And as I say, I reckon they will actually get the 20 mil. Just because people are looking at esports like, oh, it's going to be huge, I want to be part of that, and you'll see, I can maybe like relate with my kids more if I say, look, I'm in the video game business now, you know. It's whether it's a jaded view or kind of bullshit view or not, I think there's a potential reality in which that is the case. So we will have to wait and see if everything goes to plan and they do end up listing. But nonetheless, if not, and even potentially, even if it does happen, I think this could be actually more damaging to esports than actually providing anything of worth and anything valuable and any growth to the industry. And that's because, look, UK esports, it's not in the best of spots, right? If we want to nail it down to UK esports, when we're nowhere near the size of organisations in other European countries, and especially like not North America, not many Asian organisations as well. We've got Excel obviously doing a good job, and the personnel changes and hires it's made in the past 6 months or so, seemingly setting it up for good things in the future. And it's got a permanent, or it's a long-term partner, I should say, of Riot Games for the LEC, which is going from strength to strength. So there's some pedigree there, and obviously it's been around for a while. It's got figureheads in Joel and Kieran, and you know, it's kind of promising in that sense. Like, you can see Excel staying around for a long time, but they haven't floated the idea of, okay, let's go public, or and let's try and get valued for 50 mil. Like, you know what I mean? And they've probably got 20 times the following that Guild do, and 100 times the reputation, 1,000 times the reputation, and the kind of competitive history that Guild have as well. And then you got obviously Fnatic, which you could class as somewhat of an international, if not global, organisation with the PUBG Mobile team in India, even though we don't really know what's going on there. And you know, its presence elsewhere, it's not really a UK brand at this point, even though it is London based. Even Fnatic isn't doing anything as wild as this. But besides those two, we've got like London Esports and as Barrage and Diabolus and other organisations, Vexed, I can't list them all, Demise, you know, but they're nowhere near the stature of other organisations, as I was saying. And you know, if now Guild comes in, dick swinging, acting like it's the best thing since sliced bread and it's going to change the industry and become one of the major players in no time at all, and then fails, the investment, if say it does go public and then it fails, like, that's a poor investment, of course. And then esports looks like a poor investment, and especially UK esports looks like a really poor investment. And you know what's going to discourage some people from investing? Failures, and things looking like a bad investment. And that's one of my worries with the Overwatch League. If that fails in the next like 5 years, 10 years, whatever it may be, and this is like a really large scale experiment as to whether a traditional sports model and like replicating traditional sports can work in esports, you know, with like ridiculous amount of investments from all the teams involved. If that fails, then esports looks like a really poor place to put your money in, and not many people are going to do it as compared to before. Now, I do think it's important that we get the right kind of investors, don't get me wrong, but nonetheless, I think it could be potentially damaging, you know. Like, I don't want UK esports to regress even more, because it can't really go too far back from where it is now, to be honest with you. We have some decent leagues in place and such, but, and as I say, a few decent organisations, but it's so far behind other regions, other countries. And again, if Guild Esports fails with what it's doing and it can't just kind of swing to success off of David Beckham's balls right into success, you know, then that's worrying. And this will be a stark reminder for other celebrities as well. Like, look what, like Beckham, high profile investment, like we've seen it across BBC and Financial Times and wherever else this story's broken. Like, and he failed, and he's David Beckham, he's huge, he's one of the biggest stars on the planet, and his organisation failed. Like, I'm not going to get involved. Like, my name can't do anything that Beckham's couldn't, you know. So why am I to get involved? So I just think it's too quick. It's way too soon. It's way too ballsy. I'm never going to fault people with ambition if it's in the right place. But if it's just a case of right, I've the people behind Guild know esports. Like, experience at Activision Blizzard and such. And this kind of move suggests is made by people who don't know esports, but the fact that they do know it suggests that they know the nature of esports and how it is seen both endemically and non-endemically. And look, maybe we could actually get a quick exit out of here. Maybe we can make a quick buck off of the name of David Beckham. We all exit. Everything's good. Like we've made a few mil, and let's Aldi. Like that, it suggests to me that that could be the case because they know esports. They know how to build a brand. They know the industry. They know the ecosystem. They know how people outside of esports looks at esports, especially on like the investment front. It reeks of something to me, and now I want to believe that they're good-willed people. I don't like to think bad of people until they give me a reason to, but it doesn't sit right with me. And you could see the reaction if you are on Twitter and follow esports people like Jacob Wolf, for example. Then you'll see it's not been widely accepted as just like, yeah, this is going to be successful. This seems right. It stands out for a reason. It doesn't sit right for a reason. And now we'll have to wait and see what goes on, of course, and the listing may actually not go through at all. You never know, but chances are it will, and this will be a very big test for Guild Esports, and yeah, I think it'll either make or break the reputation of UK esports and somewhat the wider esports industry, depending on how it goes in terms of like mainstream intention and investors. But again, Guild Esports is actually not a really big deal right now, so even if it failed, yeah, I could be wrong and nobody will give a shit. But all I want to say is, like, genuinely, I hope Guild Esports works out because I've got no reason not to at the moment. I don't believe the guys running the show are particularly bad. I do think this could be a case of a quick cash grab though. I'd be happy to speak to them if they see this video, if they want to do an interview, whether it's for Esports Insider or this channel, to really speak through things. But I will only speak to you if you give me true answers, real answers. I'm not here for the fluff PR bullshit. Like, there's no point having a conversation unless it's a real conversation, But if you've made it this far in a video, thank you very much. If you want to let me know what you think about Guild, then of course you can do so in the comments or on Twitter. I'm at @ByAdamFitch, basically everywhere on social media. Thank you for tuning in. If this is not your first video from me that you've watched, I really appreciate you coming back, and I hope I can kind of deliver something that's not really being done in esports right now, and this will evolve over time, of course. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you're all well, and I'll catch you on the next video, which should be tomorrow. Cheers.